Welcome to our vlog that is based on the Amerindians. The Amerindians are the first people to come to Guyana, and they are referred to as the indigenous people, and as such they enjoy certain rights and privileges which comes with being the first people. So the Amerindians came from the continent of Asia thousands of years ago, and they came in search of food. They later crossed over an ice passage called the Bering Strait, which connected Asia to North America, and that ice passage later melted. They wandered around, and some of them settled in what is now Guyana. And the Amerindians bring their way of life, such as their dances, their music, their clothing, communication style, and their belief, etc. So I'll be looking at the beliefs of the Amerindians. The Amerindians of Guyana have several customs. Each tribe may have their own beliefs and customs. The Patamonas, for example, believe that Mokanaima is the god or the supreme being, the makers of heaven and earth, and it is to this tribe of Amerindians that the legendary figure of Old Kai belonged. Old Kai is part of the Amerindian story, which explains how Kai Truffaut got his name. Guyanese poet A.J. Seymour wrote a poem, Legend of Kai Truffaut, and that talks about the Old Kai. The Amerindians also believe very strongly in the power of evil spirits. They believe there is a mountain spirit called Pujakaima, who carried a bag full of influenza, whooping cough, and other childhood diseases. There is also Maijuk or Maikok, a forest spirit which remains invisible when it attacks. It attacks, causes vomiting, fever, and fits. Another evil spirit is Rado or Ratu, a water spirit who takes a form of strong wind which capsizes boats and causes occupants to drown. The Waras believes that supernatural force which attack and enter the human body cause diseases. Most Amerindian tribes believe in a supernatural force that can cause or prevent diseases. There is bad and good tarring. Okay? Evil people with evil intentions uses bad terrain and can cause illness and even death. Good people with good intention uses good terrain, and this is used to cure illnesses and keep away evil spirits and kanaima from one's home. An interesting belief of the Waibai tribe is covered a ritual surrounding the birth of a child. This ritual involves both men and women. All the tribes of Amerindians place a great importance in the Payaman or shaman, who has the ability to counteract all injuries by Kanaima or cure illnesses and diseases. He is the doctor, magician, and the priest of the community.
Hello everyone. Today I will be discussing the dances known to the Amerindian culture. I should be adorned in my straw skirt and straw top to increase the aesthetic of my discussion, but college attire will have to suffice, unfortunately. Each ethnic group does different things to entertain and celebrate themselves in their culture. But one thing that all culture have in common is dance, even though the way they do it differs for each culture or ethnic group per se. Indigenous dance has various forms such as the Galeron, the traditional Mari Mari, and the Matapi. These dances all tell a story of Amerindian myths, legend, and their way of life. This was quoted from Visit Guyana in 2021. The Mari Mari dance was invented by the Makushi people of the Arawak tribe that was mainly used to welcome newlyweds while delivering a promise that they would be forever backed by their ancestors. or their elders. The Matape dance that was also invented by the Mukishi people of the Arawak tribe, and this one tells us a story of the indigenous way of life, since it references the Matape, which is a tool that is used by the indigenous people to juice the cassava, which they use to make cassava bread as well. Here is an example of the traditional Mari dance being done by the Amerindians.
Wakunay pan mari-mari, wat basaki wak napit. Waknay pan mari-mari, wat basaki wak napit. Waknay pan mari-mari, wat basaki wak napit. Watanap nyan, watu di nyan, watu di do di nyan.
Da ichiyamoka ba mata piyasa kenchawa marita kakru poteta. Da oyuamoka ba mata piyasa kenchata marita harwa kudaha tomata pi 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 tomata pi. Tarusa usa tawa padera keta flu wandaha sumakuba trawa bukaha harwa.
Let's talk about the Galeron. The Galeron was a Spanish tradition that was integrated into Guyanese style by the Amerindian people. It's more of a newer tradition, but it's tradition nonetheless.
My name is Maruka Trim, and I'll be looking at the Amerindian artistic expression. Looking back at the history of Amerindians and the art in Guyana, one finds archival pieces and several drawings, paintings, and pictures of Amerindian in traditional settings, giving an impression of artists and travelers' interest in romanticism, if not exoticism. Added to that is, of course, anthropological documentation. There is also prehistory and the still physical presence of petroglyphs and rock paintings, which further to that have been a major source of influence for the use of Amerindian motifs in modern art. That was certainly strong in artists who were Amerindian, such as Stephanie Correia, who used them in ceramics and then explored mythical material in paintings. But the strongest explorer of these motifs was not Amerindian at all, but foremost Guyanese painter, Aubrey Williams. Another of the most prominent Guyanese artists for decades before 1990 was Marjorie Brodehin, of Dutch and Amerindian ancestry, who used motifs and created a famous tapestry owned by the University of Guyana, but who also had other wide interests. And then there was the rise of the distinctive features of Amerindian art, which started in the 1980s. These factors came sharply into focus when a program to mark Amerindian Heritage Month was presented by the National Gallery at Castellani House on September 29th. Curator and director Elfrida Bessember introduced an exhibition and gallery discussion on meaning in Amerindian art. Narratives by three most prominent Amerindian artists, George Simon, Oswald Hussein, and Winslow Craig, about their work and personal influences, put to the audience in words that their visual images have been doing in recent years. illustrating this indigenous factor that gives Guyanese art a unique and distinctive place in the art of the Caribbean. To further support what the artist was saying about meaning in Amerindian art, the gallery put to show some of the work by Stephanie Correia, Marjorie Bourduin, Edward Fredericks, Roland Taylor, Anil Roberts, Valentine Stoll, along with Simon, Hussein, and Craig. This work comprises only a few pieces and relatively small portion of what is in the national collection, and what exists elsewhere by was in very particular ways representative of the images which are informed by and which communicate this meaning. These images and this meaning help to create the excitement in the art and lend a strength to Guyanese work that gives it some ascendancy in Caribbean fine art.
The staple food of the Amerindian is cassava, and its two byproducts are bitter cassava and sweet cassava. The sweet cassava is eaten, but the bitter cassava is not eaten. Here I have some cassava bread. The Amerindians make cassava bread, right, using the sweet cassava because the bitter cassava is poisonous and they cannot eat it. The Amerindians also use the gravel-like flour to make farang, which is like the remains of the sifted cassava. When they grind the cassava and sift it, they make farang. They also make paiwari, how this is made, the older women chew up the cassava and spit it into a big container, and then they leave it for some days and they form a juice which is called paiwari. They also have another juice called fly. Another main dish of the Amerindians is pepper pot, which is made from casrip and loads of pepper and different meats. The Amerindians also like to eat the tasso, which is dried beef.
Amerindian communication style. The Amerindians have also brought with them a diversity of languages as a form of communication. Currently, it is known that there are 9 indigenous tribes based in Guyana, and many of them communicate in their various languages such as Makushi, Akaweyo, Waiwai, Arawak, Wapishana, Patamona, Wara, Carib, and Arikuna. The names of the 9 languages correspond to the names of the indigenous tribes that utilizes them. The method of communication may vary according to the various tribes. In the past, communication was done via the means of spoken languages, pictographs, and sign languages, as there was no written language at that time. It was found that pictures were often drawn and barks and drums were beaten with a specific rhythm, or there was the use of smoke signal to convey communication. However, for this research, primary focus was done on the communication style for the Arawak tribe. Arawak. This Amerindian tribe is known to be the first indigenous people to encounter Columbus and for its fierce warriors, and are often found to use the sounds of drums as a communication method, especially since they were often found to be at war with the Caribs, hence the uniqueness in their communication skills. The Arawaks speak Lukono, or Arawak as it is often called. Here are some short phrases in Arawak. Halinka Chikoba, this means how are you? Dema Hastika, this means I am fine. Thank you.